Hey friends, it is Seed Starting Saturday, and it is your friend Lisa Mason Ziegler coming to you here this beautiful, crisp, I was getting ready to say September morning, but friends, wake up. It is October. Unbelievable, really. So it is actually October 15th, and welcome. My bring coming to you here each Saturday morning is a big part for me on Saturdays. I love sharing what's going on here on the farm. And if we're just meeting for the first time, you can learn about all the work that we're doing as the Gardener's Workshop over on our website, which is just packed full of resources and opportunities. And so that's over at thegardenersworkshop.com. We have, oh my goodness. So my blog and podcasts are over there because, we have two podcasts now. I don't know if you know that or not. We now have the Field and Garden podcast, as well as Seed Talk, which was the brainchild of Lane, our seed manager. And y'all loved it so darn much that we just ended up having it come into its own. And so that was just launched this last week. And we brought over the previous episodes from Field and Garden where we've talked about seeds and frequently asked questions. And it is really something you want to go over and check out and subscribe to, because this morning we're not going to be planting seeds. I'm going to be talking about direct seeding because that's in fact what I did this week here on the farm. But anyway, so you want to subscribe to both of our podcasts, but you can find them both. I'm not sure that Seed Talk is over on our website yet, but it will be. So that resource is there. We have tons of videos. We also have a full-fledged library of our online courses, from our on-demand how to start seeds and have a little cutting garden for the home gardener, right up to business courses on how to start a flower farming business, as well as scaling your business by sticking your toe into other markets and ways of growing. And we would just love for you to check that out. Plus, what started it all was we have an online garden shop where I only sell the same tools, seeds, and supplies, as well as my books. The stuff that I use. That's kind of how it all started, was me traveling the country doing programs and conferences, and people wanted the stuff that I used. So we started selling it. And that's what's kind of blossomed literally out of control, friends. So check that out, thegardenersworkshop.com. And if you're watching me on YouTube, please drop us a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel, comment. We have folks on here, our staff, that team members that are on that can answer your questions, as well as me. That's what I'm here for today. So I also want to mention that today is a really big day for the Gardener's Workshop, because one of our big school courses launched this morning. Our big classes, which are 6 weeks long, only enroll once a year for 5 days. And that's because the level of involvement of the instructor, as well as all of our team members supporting the students. So Jenny Love's course, Farmer Florist School, The Wedding Process, launched just this morning. And friends, I'll tell you more about that during this talk today, because this is really, it's not a design course at all. It's 100% business, and it has everything from marketing to pricing equations, to contracts, to everything you could possibly need and apply in almost all the levels of flower farming. So that launched this morning. So we're all busy as bees with that. And my class has already enrolled. That ended last week. So it's just a really exciting time. And literally, I'm sitting here in front of, over on this side those are all dried flowers. Those are dried, all leftover harvest from this summer that we literally just hung and air dried. No special anything. We just hung them up and thought, why not hang them instead of putting them in the compost heap, right? And so I'm calling that my winter wall of wonder. So we're working on different ideas to get that all up and running and a little bit better organized, because there's cool flowers and warm flowers in there. And that's a big part of my Friday show. And if you haven't joined me there, we have an app, a phone app. It's called Gardener's Workshop Live Shop. And on Fridays at 12 noon Eastern time, I go live and I highlight what's going on here in the farm, but you can actually purchase what I'm talking about when I'm talking about it. And I give you more 411 than you can possibly get off of our website. This is a totally separate entity. And so that's what that is all about. And I wanted to just put in the plug that there's specials each week on that show, and those specials are available until Sunday morning at 8 a.m. Eastern time, which is like about 24 hours or a little less than that from now. So you can head over there, watch the replay, and see all the specials. It has a tab that says what were the specials on this date and what, and you can check those out. And so what I talked about yesterday, because it's what I did on the farm this week, is direct seeding. And I think that is one of them. I think making the choice whether you're supposed to direct seed or start indoors, not just of cool flowers. And if you don't know what cool flowers is, those are the cool season hardy annuals. A lot of people are familiar with pansies. Pansies are like the most universally recognized flower. And pansies are cool season hardy annuals, meaning many of us, depending on what your winter low temperatures are, can fall plant them, and they look beautiful in the fall. Then they survive winter to come back in spring. Well, the cool season hardy annuals in my book, Cool Flowers, you can get them to bloom in the fall, but that's not the point of the book. We really plant these in the fall when they're winter hardy in your zone to be the first spring bloomers come spring. I mean, these are the flowers that while it's still cold at night often and cool during the day, they're starting to put on the show. They are the perfect group of flowers if you are on a home tour in the spring, if you need flowers in spring for whatever you're doing, this is the group of flowers. And I'll just go down a rabbit hole because you know I'm famous for those, right? So if for those of you that are in the Mid-Atlantic, you may be familiar with what's called Historic Garden Week. And that is America's largest open house. Garden Club of Virginia, which is a very professionalized group of garden clubs, started, I think it's like, I'm going to guess, I think it's like over 75 years ago. The garden clubs in Virginia that were a member of this mother club pulled together, and they got their local homes and special places. I mean, there's been some amazing places that you don't get to go any other time to open their homes on one specific day in spring. And so a big part of that Historic Garden Week was that the ladies would make flower arrangements to put in those homes that people were going to be touring and the gardens that were attached to them. Well, if you read the rules of the Historic Garden Week's flower arranging, the women were supposed to be using flowers from their gardens to do the flower arranging for the tours, right? Well, through the years, little bit by little bit, as cool flowers, the cool season hardy annuals, became less known about because of their awkward planting times, these ladies started using more and more flowers that were not grown in their gardens. They sourced them where everybody else sources, right? From wholesalers and different places. And as I introduced cool flowers and the whole concept of them, we became quickly aware that this group of flowers were exactly the flowers that these ladies were using way back when, because they were so in tune with their gardens and with planting times. And so the moral to this story is I ended up doing a big talk to the Garden Club of Virginia clubs about this group of flowers, because for that very use. So anybody that wants an early spring to spring garden that is in full-fledged glory, that you're not planting in spring, you have to plant it before that, right? You have to investigate this group of flowers. And this group of flowers, like most groups of plants, some of them prefer to be direct seeded, and some of them prefer to be started indoors as transplants. And we talk about transplants all the darn time. And so our resources that you can access at thegardenersworkshop.com, you can go to the store. It's called the shop, And within the shop, there's a seed category. And within the seed category, there is a cool season category. And I think there's a lot of seeds in there. Those are all the cool flowers that I start. Under each one of those flowers, it gives you the whole 411, which way it prefers to be started. If it says you can either, it'll say something like, can be planted directly in the garden or started indoors for an earlier start. Whichever method is listed first is the way that I do it, because many of them can go either way. And I tend to go with the easiest, which I think is the way that most people want to do this, right? So that's how you can figure that out. So it's not really about what your preferred method is. It is, as far as I'm concerned anyway, it is the preferred method. The easiest, most successful way that I have found to start seeds is how I list them. So we try to provide all of that information, and it can vary. And that is also, there's always somebody who'll say, oh my gosh, I do the opposite of you and it does great for me. Well, I'm not saying it doesn't work. I'm saying that in general, for me, in my conditions, which is all I can talk to you about, right? That's how it works for me. So it's not really about, like, because this is what people say to me, oh, I'm just going to direct seed everything this year. Well, it's like, well, you can certainly do that, but don't expect a whole lot of success potentially. Or they'll say, I'm going to start everything indoors. I had terrible time last year when I direct seeded. And it's because we're starting in the wrong place, friends. You need to figure out which is the seed that you're looking at, that particular variety's preferred method. And it's real simple. I mean, in my mind, there's I have several go-to direct seeded stuff. I know that when I say bachelor buttons or bells of Ireland, for me in my environment, we always direct seed them. I don't even think about starting them indoors. And that's what you have to start building on. And if that means you need to make a list of all the seeds you're starting for cool flowers, and then look in the book. And if it's not, there are some more on this website under the seed category than there are in the book. Go in and make your list, prefers direct seeded. And friends, nobody remembers. I literally, if I'm not using our seed packets, perfect example. Normally, I just grab seed packets from the warehouse of the seeds that I'm planting to bring home here to the farm to plant. That does a couple of things. I am checking out the vitality of our seeds. I mean, we're constantly repackaging, but I can say, well, I started those seeds from the same lot of seeds that you did, when people have questions. So I grab seed packets and bring them home and plant them. Well, that is super convenient because our seed packets tell you right on there whether to cover the seed with soil or not. So which way should you start? The next most important step is, does that seed need darkness or light to sprout? And it's another thing people they just assume that everything gets covered. And I mean, I have spoken to people that have been planting backwards for years and never had success. And I'm having a bad hair day, y'all. I'm about to go get on a motorcycle after this is over. So I guess it doesn't really matter, right? Not as the driver, I'm the passenger on Steve's Harley. So you have to know that piece of information. So again, having the list of the flowers you're going to start, how it prefers, and then does it get covered or not? So I don't remember. I literally, if I don't take those seed packets from the office out to the garden, as I did, probably 60% of the seeds that I planted on Wednesday were out of our seed packets. So I didn't have to look them up. But the rest of them, I have my Cool Flower book out there with me. Or if it's not in Cool Flowers, I look on our website. So those key information. And I would be willing to say that those two steps are pretty dadgum significant. And then, so you have to figure out which ones you're direct seeding. Now, what else is important about direct seeding? This is the most frequently asked thing I get questions about. And this is one of the discussions that Lane and I have in Seed Talk, the new podcast. So it's on apps now. So you need to go to your app and search Seed Talk, and you can hear more about all of this. But the other really important part of those seeds that do prefer to be started out in the garden is to then plant them in a timely time. Well, what is timely for direct seeding? Y'all, it is all about temperatures. If you plant too early and it is still way warm out there, they're just going to sit there. And stuff happens to them when they just sit there. You really want to you really want to plant all seeds, whether starting indoors or out in the garden. You want to plant them in their optimal conditions so they germinate as quickly as possible, so other stuff doesn't happen. A seed that's sitting there waiting for part of its conditions to happen is predisposed to other problems. Let's just say you're starting indoors and you have the soil temperature and the air temperature wrong, but you're watering them every day. That seed is very predisposed to rotting, versus if it's the right air temperature, and which creates the soil temperature, and they sprout quickly, the rotting problem doesn't even come on the scene. Well, the very same thing happens out in the garden. But what happens when you direct seed at the wrong time, particularly early, is that seed is going to sit there and wait for its cool conditions. And then while it's waiting, guess what else is happening? First off, ants, which are some of the best garden insects, by the way. We also have Bug Talk on Field and Garden that has some great talks about beneficial insects and how helpful they are, where ants move seeds. And so the longer that seed sits there unsprouted, things happen. In addition, what do you think does happen while you're waiting? The weed seeds 100% will germinate and start to sprout. And that starts the vicious cycle of the weeds overtaking direct seeding. And, I offer a lot of tips in a lot of different places. But in general, by waiting till the temperature is correct, which means that 6 to 8 week window, but I'm looking for 60 to 65 degree nights or lower to direct seed. If you are still hot at night, those seeds are just going to sit out there and wait for you. But if you direct seed the seeds that should be direct seeded, and you cover them or don't cover them with soil that is the correct way, and you do it with that right air temperature, they're going to sprout, and give them moisture. And then you have to water them. So I was so fortunate this week what pushed me to do it. On Wednesday evening, I was out direct seeding a bunch of different. If you want to know everything I direct seeded, that's what yesterday's show on the live gardening, the Gardener's Workshop live shop. You can find it on the app and rewatch it. I go through every single thing that I actually direct seeded, and then talk a little bit more about that. But it rained Thursday morning. And then it rained again on Friday. And of course, this is part of the best part about fall planting, y'all. Because it's cooler conditions, the moisture lasts longer, but you still need to keep that seed bed moist, right? And so those are some things that you just have to consider before you can even start doing this. So what I've been afraid of is that and a lot of people I think are experiencing this from what I'm reading on social media. We're getting colder earlier this year than the last few years. We had fall conditions that just went on way too long. And the reason you don't want that condition, why that's kind of problematic, is that you don't want your cool flowers to grow too large before they have to go through winter as a plant, right? I mean, I brought in some transplants here to kind of show you. This is Yarrow. This is Colorado Sunset Yarrow. And this is like the perfect size plant that you want going through winter. When they start getting bigger than that, when you have fall conditions that just go on and on and on, they just have more vegetation to take cold damage. And they're not really made to go through winter as a big plant. They're made to go as this little baby 6 to 10 inch plant that's hunkered down and can take the whipping winds and the freezing weather, and all of those things. So some of the things that I do to help y'all, I have the air conditioner on in here because I have some flowers I'm trying to kind of keep going. but I'm getting hot, cold. Sorry. So I'm having to put my jacket back on. So some of the things that I do to help my direct seeding, if needed, you don't always have to do these things. So as I mentioned, watering that, I would say unless your seed bed is pretty moist, watering it once a day helps them to move along, particularly like Bells of Ireland, which I planted, which really has that hard shell. What was the other one I was planting? I think it was Saponaria, soapwort. Tends to have a little hard seed. Anything that's got a little hard seed, think about a chicken and an egg. And that chicken's got a little beak on it to crack its way out. Well, sprouts don't have that. You have to soften that outer shell without rotting it to let that sprout pop. And that's sometimes if you don't have all of the conditions that you're supposed to have at the same time, that's what sometimes seedlings can abort. Meaning maybe it's rotten and soft because you've overwatered, but yet the temperatures aren't right. So it's just way too cold. And so you just it's not as hard as it sounds when you meet all of its needs. So some of the things that I do, this is what I thought I was going to have to do this year, but we've actually gone back to having kind of warm days and cool nights. Perfect world to get seeds that you're sowing directly out in the garden, cool season seeds out in the garden to sprout in a timely fashion is like 60-degree nights and 70-ish degree days, warm days and cool nights. That's what they're really looking for. And something else that you can really watch in your garden, once you start planting cool flowers each year, some of them are good reseeders. Larkspur and Nigella and the poppies and the Bells of Ireland and the bachelor buttons can all be really good reseeders. If you watch your garden the following year and see when it reseeds, what are the conditions that are happening right then, it can really help you read your environment, right? I learned so much from watching how that whole process happens. So watering the seed bed every day to help be sure that Tucker's a little freaked out. I don't know if y'all can hear all the hammering, but there's people here working on my home and Tucker's a little unglued about it. So watering every day to make sure that they're getting the moisture so that shell, that little hub is softening up so the seed can sprout when it's gotten to its germination time. But the other thing that I use a ton of, this is Agribon Ag 19. This is lightweight row cover. And this is just, I went over and literally ripped this off. Our row cover that we use on the farm is rolled up over on rolls. I have found that to be, if you're a grower, I have found that to be a great tip. We used to just ball up each bed, roll it up to make a big ball. And then it was pretty easy to bring out of the potting shed to unroll to put out in the garden. But the problem that we store them in our potting shed. That's like the perfect conditions for squirrels and rodents to come in and nest in. That it's like a perfectly made nest for them, right? So now we save the big rolls that our Bio 360 comes off of that we package at the warehouse, and we roll it up and we just store it in here, and it works really well. Anyway. So you can see how thin this is. 85% of air, water, and light go through this. And it comes in this is the 50-foot piece, which if you go watch the replay in the app, we have a special bundle with some direct seeded seeds, the 50-foot row cover, and the weight bags that I'll tell you about in just a minute over in there. And we talk about that more. But this is the only size row cover that I use, meaning the weight. And that is because it gives 4 degrees of cold temperature control protection, but I don't really use it for cold. I use it for blocking the wind, for retaining moisture. And so if I feel like there's a time when I'm having some really deep, dark, cold nights, and I'm really worried about a specific cool season crop that may be out in my garden that's either super important to us, or I've pushed the envelope and it may not be quite winter hardy in my zone, I'll just go out there and put a second layer on it temporarily. Because when you start using thicker row cover, things happen like it blocks more light, doesn't let as much moisture through. So I find that the Ag 19, which we sell this, you can find it on the app in the 50-foot piece, but if you need longer pieces, we have rolls of it available on the Gardener's Workshop, and there is actually a promotion code over on the app that you can use on our big website if you need to get hoops and more weight bags and other products. So you can check that out over on the app. So this is what I use. And I, for direct seeding, would pull this out with no hoops and just lay it directly on the ground to help retain moisture and to keep birds from stealing my seeds, because they do that. I mean, especially the finches, they are the worst about doing that. So immediately following planting, you can put this down. It'll help to retain moisture because it blocks the wind from basically drying the soil out. And so this is the weight bags that we use, obviously not full. This is literally a sandbag, y'all. This is what they do to make sandbags for floods. We put either rocks, gravel, sand, or garden soil, depending on what you have available. And you want your bag to weigh about 15 pounds. And what I typically do is make one with the scale and see about how full it is. And it doesn't have to be exactly 15. But when you install, and there is actually a video over on our website on the product showing how I do it with hoops. You do exactly the same way without hoops. You just don't use hoops. But if you follow my directions on how many you put at each end, the bags, and then how far apart on the row, I mean, we live in an incredibly windy site. The Warwick River is less than 2,000 feet away from us, and we have rolling wind all winter long, and I can keep row covers down. So that can help you with moisture retention and blocking birds from getting your stuff. So I hope that kind of helps you to actually have more success direct seeding. So there's specials over on the app, and I'm not going to say what they are because they go off on Sunday at 8 a.m. and so many people watch this late. So you have to go over there and visit whatever is the most current week and see what the special is. But you want to really check it out because there's some really great specials over there. Now, I have some seedlings I'm going to show you just because I want to. And I have my Ami Magus germination hack that I'm going to share with you and show you my Ami. So first off, we are still starting transplants here, friends. So these are snaps, and you can see this was a package of 50 seeds, and this is a tray of 60 blocks. So that's why Bobo has some missing here. This is actually the Opus Apple Blossom. And you can find all of these seeds over on our app and the website. But these are not quite ready to go out yet. These were started 9/15. So these are exactly 30 days or 4 weeks old. And I've been kind of holding them back while we've been getting some other stuff planted. So this is, if you're not a soil blocker, there's a great offer over in the app for the small soil blocker. And this is the small block that I use 98% of the time. And these snapdragons will grow in this block, as do all of the plants that I start in the small block, with the exception of a handful like eucalyptus and tomato plants and eggplant and peppers. They grow in this block till they go to the garden. It is not necessary to bump them up. This is the streamlined, efficient, incredible seedlings. So these are snaps. These are Cool Season Hardy Annuals. I already showed you the Yarrow. The Yarrow is also in the small block. And you can also find on our big website, where you could use that promotion code, our handy dandy, amazing green hard trays, which we import these from England. So this is 100 blocks and this is 60 blocks. And so we have trays for all different sizes. And y'all, guess what I still have? I haven't been able to bring myself to throw them in the compost pile. These are the zinnias that you saw last week that were started for a photo shoot. And yes, I start zinnias in the small block. And if these were going to be planted, these were started for a photo shoot, it's not the right time of year. They cannot be planted. But I wanted to show you, this is the perfect size to plant in the garden. See that? Index finger right up to my knuckle. These are look how healthy and hardy these guys are. They are just really doing well. And we have taken so many pictures of this tray because I just hate to pitch them, but oh well. And those are only like 2 weeks old. 2.5 weeks old, those are, friends. So those are zinnias. So if you're not a soil blocker, I'm here to tell you that it is space savvy. I don't have any hooper greenhouses. I've been a flower farmer for 2.5 decades, and I still have no structures. I'm in the middle of the city, right? And you can do it. I did start in the beginning in my kitchen, my pantry, and my basement. I now grow in a 10 by 10 designated grow room that's full of grow lights and racks. And I can start and support up to 13,000 seedlings in there. Pretty dadgum amazing. I attribute soil blocking to how I became a commercial grower because I couldn't have structures. And, that is one thing I am super happy about now. I felt penalized earlier on in my career that I couldn't have structures, and all my flower farming friends did. But friends, now that I've done it, and I had to really just become a better grower to grow out in the field and make my choices accordingly, I went on to become an extremely successfully high productive field cut flower grower that is known in southeastern Virginia for how perfect my blooms are. And I do it all outdoors, all where the bugs, the creatures, the sun, and the wind are. And you can do it too. So I want to share with you my Ami Magus hack, and then we've got to get to questions. So Ami Magus and Daucus. Ami Magus is the lookalike for Queen Anne's lace, even though they're not really related. It's the white lacy flower. And the Daucus, which is false Queen Anne's lace, is in the same family with false Queen Anne's lace, but they all have that lacy bloom. Ami Magus is white, and the Daucus is the multicolored one. Well, they're hard to get started indoors because they like cool temperatures. So here is my tray of Ami Magus. I was trying to show you all. I just love seedlings when they're just being born. Literally, these have just been born. So, and I'm messing up blocks doing this. So this tray was made and sown on September 29th. So that means these are 2 weeks old. And here's my hack for this family and the Daucus family is we sow them into soil blocks according to, I think they need light. Don't quote me on that. You have to look it up just like we did. Sow them accordingly. We put them on the seedling heat mat for 24 to 36 hours. That just kind of warms the seed up and lets it know, come on out of dormancy. Is my method of thinking about it. That's not scientific, y'all. So I put it on heat for 24 to 36 hours. Then I take it off the seedling heat mat and just put it on the floor in my grow room. My grow room is a concrete floor, not with the grow light on it, because it just then coasts for literally about 10 days. This also works for Bupleurum. And I just put it down on the floor. I water it occasionally if I see that it's getting dry. And then lo and behold, day before yesterday, I look down and look at all these babies. And then I immediately, as soon as I see babies, I get them up underneath grow lights. Or see these ones that are super long that are laying down, this one back here, they were the first ones to sprout that I didn't notice. And so that is my Ami Magus hack. That's a super important crop. We fall plant it, very early spring plant it, and then plant it again in a month. Sometimes that one doesn't make it. It gets too hot and humid for it to really get any gusto going. But it's a very important cash crop. So let me see what questions you guys have here. All right. I see we have so many people on here. Sally, which cool flower seeds would you recommend for zone 7B, 8A? Well, Sally, you're in exactly the same zone as me. So if you watch the replay on the app yesterday, I list everything that I just direct seeded. I did plant. I planted all of them. So you can watch that of what the ones that I'm actually planting out there and get the 411 on all of those, and the special on seeds. There is a Cool Flower 6-pack. There's a special on all seed packets. I'm telling y'all, you need to go over to the app and check it out. We can't sell everything that we have on our website over there because the shipping won't cover us, but that's what you want to do. All right, so let's see what else we got here. Beth, best class ever, learned everything I need to know in Lisa's class. Oh, thank you, Beth. So my class just finished up enrollment, and now we're in Jenny's enrollment, and then we have coming up 2 more big school enrollments. And here's something that I just want you to know about all of our online courses. When you buy one of our online courses, sorry, y'all, I'm having to rearrange my pillows, has to bump me up. When you buy any of our online courses, you have lifetime unlimited access. That means that as long as there's internet and you can get to internet, and when you log into your online library, that brings up all of your courses that you've purchased from us. And you can watch them as many times as you want. And here's what I tell people. Oftentimes, you don't feel ready to take the next class or one of the other classes when that enrollment opens up. But we urge people, you have to think about the next year, because it's going to be another year before that class is available, is open for enrollment. And there is nothing worse in the middle of winter than sitting there stewing while all your friends are doing whatever the other class is teaching about, taking it in, making their plans, making their purchases, talking to their classmates, talking to their instructor, and getting everything lined up because you thought it was too early for you to do that. So I'm just highlighting that we know for a fact from looking at our courses, because if we can see who's watched and who hasn't watched which sessions, we know that more people watch the schools after the fact than during the school time. So I'm just saying to you that if you feel like you're on the edge, do not feel like you're taking too big a bite by taking a class and not even really participating 100% in your mind in the class while it's live, because you have the rest of time to review it, go back over it, and you can even be a member of the optional alumni Facebook group with your instructor and all your classmates and all the previous classmates. So I just wanted to say that, because if you've not been a part of an online course community like ours, you just don't understand that once you're in, and you can review it and go back over the parts that you're faced with currently to get on with that. So thank you, Beth, for those words of encouragement. I just love that you are sharing your. Oh, and Sally must be a new student because she's getting ready to start school on November 1st. And Jessie has put the link in here where you can go straight to the Cool Season Flowers. And so let's read what this. So this is a Facebook user. It doesn't show us their name. Only luck I've had with direct seed is zinnias, but the ones I did direct transplant did better. So it really, if you really review what you did compared to what the seeds really need, and if you have the book Cool Flowers, I really give the lowdown in there on the step-by-step for successful direct seeding. Direct seeding is not as easy as people think. Why do you think commercial growers always start plants indoors whenever they have that as an option? So I only direct seed those things that really do best. And again, if you want to know exactly all of those that I direct seeded, check out the app yesterday and watch the replay for the 1014 show. And I go through all of them. Facebook user just bought the book. Yay. And you know that you can go to my website. There is actually a free video book study to go with both of my books. Doesn't matter where you bought the book. And if you go to the books sales page on my website, scroll down and in red, it'll say, claim your free book study. You just request it and we'll send it to you. So you'll have even, it doesn't matter where you got it. Motorcycle hair, don't care. Yep. Yeah. So yes, Steve and I don't ride very much, but we're riding today to a big family party. So that'll be tons of fun. So Marguerite is asking, about Cool Flowers being in stock. So the publisher really had a terrible time. We have had so many reprints this year and the paper shortage. So he is expecting the reprint order to show up in November, and then we've got outstanding back orders with him. But I will give you this tip, and I don't know if they have any left, but as of this morning, the Mother Earth News bookstore, that's Mother Earth News bookstore, had Cool Flowers. They may have already been sold out because I posted that on social media. So go over there and get yourself one right now. We will have them later in November. And if you buy the book somewhere else, just go to our website and request the book study, and we are happy to get it to you. Laurie Ridgway, 17 days till the basics. The basics, annual crops, marketing, and more. Woohoo. That's my course. I'm totally stoked over it this year. And I'm super excited as each year. So the Q&A, the live Q&As that happens with all of our big school courses each week, the instructors get your questions and answer them all. And I'm totally excited. Oh, so here's another one. Jessie says she can't wait either. So let's see what Kim says. Bought snaps 1 inch tall and planted this week. Might freeze next week. Should I cut them to a smaller size? So I'm sorry, I read that as 1 inch. It's 1 foot tall. I would not do anything until that's not going to kill them if they're established. I would wait until winter really sets in, and 1 foot is not bad. Anything over that, I would definitely pinch them back. But if you pinch them too early while it's still getting warm, that'll stimulate more sprouts, and you don't want that to happen. So I would leave it if I could and see what happens. But snaps are super hardy. When do you thin your direct seeded bed? Not until very early spring when they start to grow again. Do you have any snaps to show? I'm pretty sure mine are not doing okay, but so Julie, I just showed these, but just in case you just joined, here they are. These are 4 weeks old and they are gorgeous. Susan's. So Lisa, I planted 3 types of Sweet Women at Sweet William and Soul Blocks. I didn't cover and have them on heat mats and under grow lights 2 weeks and only about 25% germination. First off, you never have them under lights and on heat mats at the same time. You're cooking them. Okay. And so with cool season hardy annuals, we usually, when we use the seedling heat mat, have a cookie cooling rack, the rack you put cookies on the mat to create an airspace, and then your mats go on that. I'm pretty sure they're overheated, so get them cooled down. Whether or not they're already toasted, I would plan on restarting for sure, but restart them on cookie cooling racks on just the seedling heat mat, and then you move them to the grow light. That's too much heat top and bottom. Oh, Marguerite, thank you. You know, that was my mother's name. So I'm just looking. Julie, oh dang, my snaps are nowhere near that big. I think mine are about 3 weeks old. There's definitely a learning curve to soil blocking. I'm in 9B, so I can start another set. Yes, and I would say that the biggest problem with all indoor plants, and one thing that if you can perfect your method of watering in soil blocks, watering in other types of like plug trays is the problem that most people suffer from. I mean, you don't realize that's the problem, but that inhibits growth because they're wet and soggy all the time. So you've got to get that, perfected. And it's all about having a warm enough air temperature to have the plants dry out by the following morning. And once you get your environment correct, it is a dream way to actually do it. Sally, can I grow in soil blocks without a heat mat? We don't start, like I just demonstrated with the Ami Magus. I do start sweet peas in 2-inch blocks now without heat mats, as I taught about last week. But everything else gets heat. Heat just makes more uniform, quicker germination when you have it at the proper temperature. All right, so I'm just looking. In the Cool Flower book, it says do not cover Sweet William. Correct. So that means that you do not cover it with soil. So this is my last question. I just have to get off here early today, guys. So this is Tracy. Good morning. So she is in northern Alberta. That's up in Canada, really cold, zone 2 and 3. Can you speak to getting beds ready? Obviously not able to do a whole lot of fall planting, correct? The big benefit for people in super northern areas, particularly with heavy snow loads, is to get their beds ready in the fall for the earliest spring plant they can get, which is long before you can do warm season. Do I cover beds with compost and leave them empty? Maybe add leaf mulch, cover with tarps to be able to access early spring. That's exactly it. You want to actually do the whole process of preparing your bed, Tracy, so that you can literally pull back that silage tarp or whatever you're using, on a sunny afternoon, even with a light snow cover, with the sun shining on it. Sometimes you can get the covers to come back to reveal the beds. We literally have our beds prepared, fertilizer added. We'll have Bio 360 or mulch, whatever method you're using. Then we cover that with the silage tarp so we can just pull it back, because we often will have a snow in mid-February. That's my early spring planting time, 8 weeks before my last spring frost. And so that bed is literal. It's like getting in bed at night with all your clothes on, including your shoes. You just jump out of bed in the morning, brush your teeth, and go. That's how you want this bed, right? So that is, you have the right idea, but you want the complete process of whatever your process is for preparing the bed. So friends, I'm leaving you a few minutes early this week because we have a big family celebration today. And so I hope this helps you, but I again want to remind you that if you go over to the Gardener's Workshop live shop, get the app, go to your app store and download it. And I'm sorry if you're at international, it's not going to show it to you because we can't ship internationally. But you can go to our website. I think this is true. Think you can go to our website, go to shop, and the very first choice that comes up is the live shop and show. I believe you can access it there to watch it. You still wouldn't be able to shop. We can't ship to you if you're international, but I believe you can watch it there. But I do a deep dive on which ones I planted this week. And remember, Jenny's enrollment is open October 15th through the 19th. You can learn more about that over at thegardenersworkshop.com. Her course is blooming amazing. And she and I did a talk earlier this week, and we're doing another one at 12:30 Eastern time on Monday right here in YouTube and on Facebook, doing a Q&A on her course. Friends, it is a business course. She does a deep dive in the business part of it, the marketing, how to work doing any events and weddings, but you can apply almost everything she talks about to any business model. Marketing, including Google, Pinterest, the two most important ones in her book that most people don't even do. And she gives you blow by blow how to do it. She shares her contract templates, her email templates, her pricing equations, which you can definitely use in any method, as well as the 10 crops you've got to grow if you're selling or growing for weddings and events, and the ones you don't want to grow that you should source from other growers. It's an amazing course, and you can listen, because a lot of it is slideshows. You can actually listen to it while you're going down the road on the phone app for the course. So I invite you to join us Monday at 12:30, and then you can watch the replay. The course is $695, or it's available in 2 payments. Enrollment closes October 19th at 12 midnight Eastern time, and we would love to have you join us. And friends, I am out of here. Thanks for joining me, and I'll see you on, I have other student interviews. Actually, I have it right here in front of me. Let me look. I'm actually doing one tonight right here on StreamYard again. So I'm interviewing one of Jenny's students that's already taken her course. And then Monday I'll have the Q&A, and then there's others coming along, and you can look for me posting about those on social media. I mean, what is better than hearing from people that have already taken the course and how it helped them? So it's not a wedding design course, y'all, which I think a lot of people think. It is the best kept secret in our course library, I think. So friends, until we meet again, ciao.